After the huge success of Sonic 2, Sonic was now a household name with plenty of children around the globe eagerly anticipating the next entry in the series. Wanting to capitalize on this success, Sega once again contracted the Sega Technical Institute along with veteran game creators Yuji Naka and Hirokazu Yoshihara to create the third numbered entry in the series. At first, the plan was to create a much larger game than Sonic 2. However, and I'm not kidding with this part, the game was split into two because of a McDonald's promotion. Spoiler warning, this won't be the last time Sega make utterly baffling decisions. The two halves of the game, both released in 1994, were called Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles respectively. However, due to the famous lock-on technology Sega came up with sometime between Sonic 1 and 2, they were able to fulfill their initial vision by allowing you to combine the cartridges of both Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles, with the combination of the two going by the name Sonic 3 and Knuckles. To me, this is the true way to play the game due to this being the initial vision by the developers. Hence, I will always view the game in the state it was supposed to be released in. For some added context, the version of the game I'll be looking at is Sonic 3 Angel Island Revisited, a fan game by Yukuro, which is the definitive version of the game by a long shot in my opinion, with a ton of customizable options, widescreen support, and most importantly in my eyes, mod support, which means I can do shit like this. But enough of the developmental cycle talk. Let's get into why Sonic 3 and Knuckles is my favourite 2D Sonic game ever. Seeing as this game's plot is much more integrated into the core gameplay, I'll go over a different format for this video. Instead of splitting the video into sections like previously, I'll instead attempt to group all my thoughts into one cohesive part. The game kicks off immediately after the events of Sonic 2, with the Death Egg crashing onto Angel Island after exploding in the last game. At some point after crash landing onto the island, Eggman meets Knuckles the Echidna, the guardian of Angel Island. Realizing what Knuckles is, the Doctor tells him Sonic and Tails are evil and plotting to steal the Master Emerald. Leaving Eggman, Knuckles forms an alliance with him to defeat Sonic. Meanwhile, Sonic and Tails head to Angel Island after discovering a strange energy out at sea, with Sonic transforming into a super state to wrap things up quickly. However, Knuckles punches the super right out of Sonic and steals the emeralds, forcing Sonic to reclaim them. As seen with that opening cutscene, this is the first game in the series to have cutscenes integrated into the actual levels. Although they're simple and have no dialogue, it's a welcome addition to the series, and one that makes the worlds you travel through in-game feel connected. The act of traversing through levels is essentially unchanged from Sonic 2, with speed being a constant focus throughout the game. However, a couple of things have been added to this game, one of them being the Insta-Shield and the other being the Elemental Shields. The Insta-Shield, activated by pressing the jump button twice without a shield, is a temporary barrier Sonic forms around him which grants invincibility frames and a little extra reach. It's great for dealing with annoying enemies like Orbonauts and getting in some picky hits and boss encounters. The Elemental Shields, however, are much more interesting. Hidden throughout the zones of the game are three types of shields: the Electric Shield, the Bubble Shield, and the Fire Shield. Not only do all these shields protect Sonic from damage, but they each make him impervious to certain environmental hazards and give Sonic extra moves to play around with. For instance, the Fire Shield gives Sonic a mid-air dash, the Bubble Shield gives him the bounce attack, and the Electric Shield gives him a double jump. These shields are a fantastic addition to the game as they spice up the gameplay enough for Sonic. I'll get back to the other characters in a bit. Anyway, zones are much more dynamic in Sonic 3 than in any game prior. You see this as soon as the first level. where Eggman's robot torches Angel Island in the first act, changing the level aesthetic. Additionally, upon beating said robot at the end of the act, which in itself is the first time each act has ever had a boss fight, the second act starts where you left off, making the world feel much more connected. That's not all, however, as each act has its own musical theme, making each of them feel fresh and distinct from one another. Holy shit, the music in this game. The mystery behind Sonic 3's OST has to be one of the most interesting topics about the game, with several tracks in the game being uncredited. However, it has been confirmed that Michael Jackson did work on some of the OST, with the removal of certain songs in future releases confirming that theory. There's honestly a lot more to it than what I'm covering here, but legal issues with the OST aren't really my point of interest when looking at a video game. If you're really interested in the mess that went on behind the scenes, go watch ChowMix's video on it, which covers things much more in depth than I could ever dream of, link in the description. What does matter, however, is that the music is pretty damn good. Need I say more? Anyways, as I stated earlier, Sonic lost the Chaos Emeralds at the start of the game and he must find them all again to save the planet. This time, instead of needing 50 rings to either jump into a big ring at the end of a level or use a checkpoint to warp to a special stage, you instead find big rings hidden throughout the level, with no prerequisites needed to enter them. A much better system than the one in Sonic 2 simply because there's much less stress when hunting for the emeralds. In this variation of special stage, you run around in an area with the goal of collecting blue spheres, while avoiding the red ones which instantly make you fail the stage. The longer you stay in a special stage, the faster Sonic moves, which makes the music speed up and makes the pacing more frantic. I find these to be the best special stages yet. They are extremely satisfying to complete even in the original Mega Drive release, as none of the draw distance issues I had with the previous games apply here, and they're just more enjoyable to complete in general. IJ from the future here. While editing this video, I realised I completely forgot to talk about the bonus stages, which are reached by jumping into a checkpoint with a certain wing threshold. There are 3 variants, one similar in aesthetic to Sonic 1 special stages, with a slot machine to earn you extra rings, one where you use these rotating orbs to catapult yourself to the top and hopefully grab some goodies along the way, my personal favourite, and the gumball machine stage, where you use the bumpers on the side to push yourself up to the machine and get power-ups. If you want my thoughts on them, they're all helpful minigames that can better equip you for the level ahead. Now back to the video. But back to the meat of the video. After defeating Eggman in Angel Island Zone, Sonic will go through a number of levels before reaching Eggman's launch base, with Hydro City, Marble Garden, Carnival Night and Ice Cap. And man, what a journey it is. There isn't a single level here I dread playing. Not a single level. Whether it's running on water in the Hydro City, using the spinning tops in Marble Garden, getting the emeralds earlier and abusing Super Sonic to skip the slower parts of Carnival Night, or that snowboarding sequence in Ice Cap. I just find these levels to be remarkably fulfilling to play, with a great balance of speed, platforming and exploration to boot. After all that though, Sonic and Tails arrive at Launch Base Zone, where Eggman has almost finished rebuilding the Death Egg, with his spaceship attempting to lift it back into space. However, after defeating the Fat Man in battle, the Death Egg plummets back down to Angel Island, ending the Sonic 3 portion of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. In February 1994, this was the ending players around the globe got. However, inputting codes for debug mode would reveal levels that weren't in the game, confusing many players. 8 months later, however, players will get what is essentially the second half of the package, with the Sonic and Knuckles portion of the game. As I explained earlier, the cartridge for Sonic and Knuckles was a specially designed one that allowed you to connect your Sonic 3 cartridge to it, giving you the complete game I'm reviewing today. But enough of the history lesson, let's get to the game. Following the events of Sonic 3, Sonic and Tails land in Mushroom Hill, and push forward with their quest to destroy the Death Egg. However, they spot Knuckles appearing to hide something of importance to him. Checking out the hidden room, Sonic and Tails come across the Hidden Palace, which is an altar containing the 7 Super Emeralds, large gemstones that are fueled by the Chaos Emeralds. Sonic and Tails end up relinquishing the Chaos Emeralds, meaning you can't abuse Super Sonic to cheese the second half of the game, and with more questions than answers at this point, Sonic and Tails decide to power up the Super Emeralds, stop Eggman from relaunching the Death Egg, and discovering the mystery of Hidden Palace Zone. Like the Sonic 3 portion, you have to get through a few levels before reaching the Death Egg, which crash landed in Lava Reef. You've got Mushroom Hill, Flying Battery, and Sandopolis. 2 of those levels are really fun. And then there's Sandopolis, which is my least favourite level in the game, if only because of the slow puzzle elements in second act in particular is filled to the brim with. As stated before, Sonic and Tails have given up the Chaos Emeralds in order to power the Super Emeralds, which means you have to go for those now. And those special stages introduce new elements, such as yellow spears which catapult you far across the stage. They are by far the most difficult in the game, but getting the Super Emeralds unlocks something pretty special. Hyper Sonic is ridiculous. Besides being faster than Super Sonic and jumping higher, he possesses all the best qualities of the elemental shields. He can double jump like the electric shield, do a dash forward like the fire shield, and breathe underwater like the bubble shield. In addition, Both of the first two are screen nuke which kill every enemy on the screen. This is the only game he appears in though, so don't get too used to him. After arriving on Lava Reef, Sonic and Tails locate the Death Egg, which uses its lasers to reactivate the volcano. The duo survive this attack and come across Hidden Palace Zone, beating Knuckles for the final time in his pathetic last stand. However, after Knuckles is defeated, he notices Eggman stealing the Master Emerald for himself. Knuckles tries to stop him but fails and gets electrocuted. Finally realizing that Eggman was a con man and the two woodland creatures were in fact good guys, idiot, shut up! The Echidna decides to help Sonic and Tails advance to Sky Sanctuary, where they deal with the remaining Eggman forces and jump onto the rising Death Egg at the very last second to foil the Doctor once and for all. After getting through Eggman's various contraptions, Sonic and Tails defeat Eggman, which causes the Death Egg to explode. However, Eggman flees the scene with the Master Emerald, prompting Sonic to transform into Super/Hyper Sonic and take him down once and for all. With the day saved, Sonic and Tails return the Master Emerald to Angel Island, which begins floating once again as a grateful Knuckles smiles on, ending Sonic 3 and Knuckles and earning my heartfelt applause as the journey comes to a close. Man, what a journey. This truly was the biggest and most ambitious Sonic game of its time. What's most impressive about it is how much of the story is told through a 16-bit game with no dialogue at all. You get introduced to Knuckles the Echidna, who goes through a distinct arc as he goes from being an enemy of Sonic, using his knowledge of the island to send him to more dangerous routes, to realizing he's not the enemy and was tricked by the Doctor. Back in its time, this shit was revolutionary as other mascot platformers didn't have plots or lore that was nearly as fleshed out as the Sonic the Hedgehog series, separating it from its contemporaries. This was also a pretty meaty game as you had 3 playable characters to choose from: Sonic, Tails and Knuckles, each with a similar gameplay style but rocking their own abilities that made them stand out. Sonic could use the elemental shields and the Insta Shield, Tails could fly and swim for brief periods of time, and Knuckles could glide and climb walls. It's worth noting that Knuckles has a slightly different story to Sonic, with his adventure taking place after the main campaign. One of Eggman's robots gains sentience and becomes the main villain of the story, with Knuckles setting out to stop him. Some level designs and bosses become different with Knuckles, as he's able to access routes Sonic and Co couldn't. Nothing radically different, but his campaign is considered the hard mode of the game. Like Sonic, he is able to transform into both super and hyper states after collecting the respective emeralds. His hyper form, however, comes with the benefit of being able to kill every enemy on screen after colliding with a wall during a glide, instead of what I mentioned for Sonic. Tails, on the other hand, gets no transformation whatsoever with the Chaos Emeralds, but does with the Super Emeralds. This was always strange to me, but Super Tails is well worth the effort as he is insanely broken. Faster flight, a higher jump, and a flock of flickies who destroy any enemy on screen. But honestly, what more can I say on this game? From its beautiful sprite work, to the level of care given to the plot, to the insane level design and length of the game, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is just a phenomenal experience that you won't forget playing. This game, in my opinion, should be on every gamer's bucket list and is a top 5 Sonic game of all time.